Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Excuse me. Good morning and welcome to Dunham Road Unitarian Chapel here in Altrincham. You are most welcome on this day of celebration, this day when we celebrate Mothering Sunday, or Mother's Day as it's more commonly known today. So we are here to worship this morning, so I invite us to prepare ourselves, to still ourselves in this time and space, in this our home, in our spiritual home here at Dunham Road. Let's invite a loving presence to be here amongst us and to awaken within us. May the warmth of this, our chalice flame, be a reminder of the warmth that we knew in our own mother's womb, and the promise of the warmth that we seek in this community, in this, our home that leads us in the way of love. Amen. And let's begin by singing our first hymn for this morning. Hymn number 68, I Dream of a Church. Hymn number 68. I invite us to join together now in a time of prayer. Let us pray. Loving God, help us to know a mother's love. We feel the happiness of true creation when we give birth to a child. The beat of a mother's heart is wonderful music, bearing the reassurance of dawn, the warmth of noon, the purple sunset, It is, in one word, wholeness. Wholeness. We come to give thanks for the mothers who bore us and nurtured us, to celebrate the love and kindness we receive from them. We come to give thanks for the children entrusted to us for a little while. We come to give thanks this morning. Holy One, be with us in both the joy and the grief this time brings. We come to give thanks for this wonderful creation, for our Mother the Earth, and for the glory of life in which we share this spring morning. We come to give thanks. Amen. Mothering Sunday, or Mother's Day as it seems to be more commonly known these days, has meant many things to many different people throughout the years. For most of us it's a day of joy, a day set aside to celebrate the gift of motherhood. But it's not always such a day of celebration for everybody, and for some others it can be a day tinged with deep, deep sadness. Today can be the hardest day for some, really, as we remember the mums, the mothers that we have lost, who are no longer with us. For some mothers it's a time to remember lost children, either through irreconcilable differences or perhaps the greatest pain of all, death's dark shadow. I spoke to a dear friend, a mother of mine, for whom today will be a very hard day, I know. So I ask us just for a few moments, just to pause in silence, to think of those mothers, and perhaps those children of mothers, for whom today is perhaps harder than any other day. Let's hold them in our loving, nurturing arms. Let us also remember the mothers whose children are far, far away, in other lands perhaps, and who worry about them daily. Let us think of those of us who have never borne children, who have never experienced such a gift, for whatever reason. And finally, let us think of those, for whatever reason, whose relationship with their own mothers or their own children is difficult, for who today may bring great sorrow or difficult emotions. Let us once again hold those people in our loving arms, in our nurturing hearts. Let's hold them together in this, our house of love. Amen. I'm going to share with you a couple of short little stories now, which around the theme of motherhood and Mothering Sunday in particular, or Mother's Day. One a more contemporary story, and one that kind of hints back to what some consider to be the original understanding, at least in this country, of Mothering Sunday, or one of the two, because it's one of those days that's disputed actually. So, but to begin with, a contemporary tale. A man stepped into a flower shop to order some flowers to be delivered to his mother, who lived some 200 miles away. I did the same thing myself today. I'm feeling a little guilty today, as I always do on Mothering Sunday, because I won't be seeing my mother. I did order her some flowers, so I did what this man did. He got out of his car, and he noticed, before he walked into the shop, a young girl sitting outside the shop, sobbing. Now, he was a warm-hearted man, particularly on such a day, and he asked the girl what was wrong with her. She told him that she wanted to buy her mother a single red rose, but she only had 75 pence, and that red rose cost £2. She could not afford to buy her mother the rose. Well, the man smiled and said, come with me, young girl. I will buy you that rose, and then you can take that rose to your mother. Which the man did. As they were leaving the shop together, at the same time he placed his own on, and as they were leaving the shop, he asked the girl where her mother lived. And she simply just pointed across the road. The man looked over the road and saw no houses, only the local cemetery. The young girl explained that her mother had died several years before, but she would be taking her flower to her mother's grave and sharing Mother's Day with her own mother. The man was dumbstruck. He watched the little girl skipping smilingly across the road and then returned to the shop, cancelled the delivery, picked the greatest bunch of flowers in the shop and drove the 200 miles to see his own mother. His heart had been opened that day. So often in life we do not know what we've got until it's gone doing. Don't know the measure of our own hearts. And I was thinking of that as I didn't fail to myself to visit my own mother today. And then there's another story which is set much further into history. A young girl named Mary. Mary's heart was beating like it had never beaten before, as she thought it would jump right out of her chest. She said she didn't know she'd ever felt so excited in the whole of her life. It was nearly a year since she'd walked this familiar path, the journey home. The path was a little overgrown this year, she noticed. But she was recognised. There was a feel in the air, the early days of spring. The young spring flowers were just budding, and there was this real sense that she was returning home. She was on her way home again. She was coming home. She was practicing what she would say to her mother, because she was 11 years old by now, and she didn't want her mother to think she was a little girl anymore. She would be grown up. She would not rush into the house. Instead, she would come to the door, knock politely, and ask her mother, "How do you do? How do you do?" She thought she would be a grown-up. She would not a little girl, not behave too emotionally. She would hold herself together, and her mother would be proud of her. She would tell her family about her life on the farm, but she'd leave out the bad bits, really. She'd only include the bits that she thought they'd want to hear. Not the time that she spoilt the milk because it had turned sour because she'd not cleaned out the bucket properly when collecting the milk. And she would tell them that Mrs. Hardy was so proud of how well she'd worked that year that she would be given 3 days off around Mothering Sunday. And she'd even get a lift halfway home as they were delivering some goods a bit further on in town. And Mrs. Hardy also told her that she needed to bake a very special cake that day. Now, does anybody know what cake we have on Mothering Sunday? Simnel cake, which she would wrap in linen cloth. Margaret knows. Thank you. We can always rely on Margaret. One or two of the others knew as well, didn't you? Yes, simnel cake. I don't like simnel cakes. It has marzipan on it, doesn't it? I don't like marzipan. She was starting to become very, very excited. She steadied herself, and then she remembered flowers. I forgot to pick flowers for my mother. So she picked on the side of the roads a posy of primroses. And she continued on her journey. She came to the bend in the road, and there it was, the little cottage in among the trees by the roadside, and there was her mother standing by the garden gate. She held herself together. Now, don't run. We want Mother to be proud. But her body would not listen to her rational mind. Her legs began to move faster and faster and faster. Soon she was racing along the lane. She almost tripped over her own skirt. She crushed the primroses tight that she was holding so tightly in her hands. And the cake almost flew out of her linen. "Mum," she shouted as she reached home, and she threw herself into her mother's arms, and her little brothers and sisters encircled them. They all rushed to meet her. Home, she was finally home, returning home to Mother. Coming home, coming home, I am coming home. It's not far, just close by, I am coming home. I am coming home. And really, I think that's what Mother's Day, Mothering Sunday is all about, isn't it? About returning home to that place of love, acceptance, nurture, where we can grow and be all that we are meant to be. It's about coming home. I want to invite Gwyneth Thorpe to share a reading with us.
My reading is called Mother's Day by the Reverend Elizabeth Tarbox. And she actually starts this reading with one of my favourite quotes. Your children are not your children. They're the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you. Which is a quote by Cahill Gibran from the Prophet. Though my child belongs not to me, she is my child and always will be. I watched her running up the driveway on the second day of school, bouncing along with white ankle socks and stride-right sandals and a summer dress hand-sewn by an English grandma. I watched her at 8 and 9, 2 yellow braids and a Cookie Monster lunchbox. I dropped what I was doing and ran out to meet the bus. In those days, she was little enough to be swept up in my arms and embraced by my affection. I watched her carrying a trombone case and a school bag that just gets heavier, trudging up that driveway on cold winter mornings in junior high, when no one wore a winter jacket or socks, no matter how much snow covered the yard. I watched her just last week when her boyfriend came to meet her in his car, and they walked out together arm in arm. He was carrying the trombone case. Then, when I watched her asking questions of the admissions officer at the Liberal Art College, I knew that I could count the days that I have left to watch her from my window. Spirit of life, watch my child when I cannot. Encircle her with love. Protect her from a world which has become cynical. Knowing that I cannot stop time, not even for a moment, and freeze the picture from my window. Let me hold gently in my memory. Let all those children she once was remain joyful spirits encircling my reminiscences. Spirit of life, watch all our children. Keep them safe as they adventure towards adulthood, and let them turn and wave to us as they step out of our care and into a world of their making.
The second hymn we've chosen today, actually there are 7 verses to this hymn. So the first verse is with the music, if you notice. Hymn number 141. She comes with mother's kindnesses. Hymn number 141. I'd like to now invite Andrea forward to share a reading with us.
This is Mother's Day by Jane Rezka. I think I've got the pronunciation right, could be wrong. I like this. When Danny sent it, my mother could have written this. It's just got exactly her tone. On Mother's Day, one expects to hear about the wonder and glory of motherhood. While I can tell you from personal experience that we mothers like to be appreciated, I can also tell you that a rosy and sentimental Mother's Day message always refers to mothers in some other family. The picture painted there is not me, not my mum, and not my grandmother's. In my family, mothers do not suffer any more than other mortals, nor are we particularly unsung. We complain when we trip over shoes on the living room floor, and we expect a little praise for carrying the daily grand accumulation at the bottom of the stairs up the aforementioned stairs. We do not deserve or expect devotion from our children. We want to have children. It was our idea. If they came around from time to time when they're grown-ups, we're ever so glad. But if they live their lives as secure and independent souls, we value that. Motherhood, in my family, is not always the most important job in the world. Some of us are actually good at it. Some of us shuffle along and do our best. And a few are better off in other professions. We try to face that Mother's Day is no time to romanticise parenthood. Parenting is a down-to-earth process if ever there was one. So this Mother's Day, let's humanise Mum. Thank her for doing what she could, given all the dirty socks. Thank her for loving you as well as she was able, in spite of your 3 years at junior high. And then let her thank you for the privilege of being your mother.
Thank you, Andrea, thank you. And having met your mother, yes, I can just picture that. Lovely. Mother's Day or Mothering Sunday has a very, very long history, actually. It dates right back to ancient Greece and Rome. It's not merely, as some suggest, just another greeting card company con, although I think more of a fuss is made of it these days than perhaps when we were children, is it? I don't know, I think it is. I think everything is, and it's a bit... It kind of sometimes loses the heart somewhere in all the over-the-topness around it, really. It's everywhere, isn't it? And it is a deeply personal thing. It's got a very complicated history, though, and but really Mother's Day or Mothering Sunday, really at its heart, I think, whichever type of understanding we have of it, at its heart is this idea of coming home, of returning to a place of love and nurture and belonging. In this country, it's celebrated in the middle Sunday of Lent, so it's part of that Lenten season leading into Easter. And thankfully, the weather has improved this weekend, and it does feel like a spring-like morning, unlike in the last couple of Sundays where it's felt like deep, deep winter, and it has been a very long winter. It's felt like a long winter for me, and you can sort of feel the shoots of spring growing, which seem very fitting for such a day of love and nurture and growth that is Mothering Sunday. However, it's the American version which seems to have taken over now, which is Mother's Day, which comes sometime towards the end of May, but has its history really, even in the American Civil War actually. And the first kind of attempt to celebrate motherhood in America was following the American Civil War, and was started by Julia Ward Howe, an important Unitarian figure actually, and the author of that great hymn, the Battle Hymn of the Republic. She instigated the first kind of Mother's Day, but it didn't really take hold. It wasn't until Anna Jarvis it was who invented the first original Mother's Day, not our own Anna Jarvis who grew and was nurtured in this very chapel, but another American Anna Jarvis, which is really the Mothering Sunday that kind of really took hold throughout the world, really. And it's kind of taken over here, hasn't it? But has anybody tried to buy a Mothering Sunday card? It's almost impossible, actually. But I, just being the kind of person that I am, annoying as you all know, I always write on mine, even if I can't find one, Mothering Sunday, just to be correct and proper, just to be Just to be infuriatingly annoying, as some people would say it, but there you go, that's just the way I am. But Mother's Day, Mothering Sunday, at its very heart is this concept of returning to a place of love, a place of acceptance, a place of nurture, to the home and the hearth, the place of belonging, the idea of something more than just ourselves, actually, a greater reality. The whole concept of Mother Church, or this, what I like to call our ship of love as we look up at this ceiling, a place of total acceptance and welcome where you can come home to who you really are. It's about coming home this day. But I'd like to offer us now a time of silence, a time for personal reflection, a time to perhaps reflect on our own mothers, perhaps, our own children, or perhaps those people that have brought that loving, accepting spirit to us, or perhaps this time to heal some pain for those that were less perfect mothers, really. I don't think any of us do anything perfectly. Maybe a time to allow that seed to grow in us too. But I invite us just to still ourselves together now in silence, to connect to our bodies, to our breathing, to our breath, to that loving, nurturing breath that sustains all life. Let us be still. Let us be silent now, together. Amen. Thank you, Margaret. So let's now join together and sing our third hymn for today. Hymn number 99, Loving Spirit, Loving Spirit. Hymn number 99.
To
I'm now going to come amongst you and distribute these wonderful poses that Jenny has prepared for us. Jenny certainly is a nurturer around here. You've nurtured these beautiful things for us. Thank you so much. We do have a few extra. If any of you want to take an extra one, that will be fine. Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to share some words from John O'Donoghue for a mother. Mother, your voice learning to soothe your new child was the first home sound we heard before we could see. Your young eyes gazing on us was the first mirror when glimpsed what to be seen could mean. Mother, your nearness filled the air, an umbilical garden for all the seeds of longing that stirred in our infant hearts. You nurtured and fostered this space to root out all our quietly gathering intensity that could grow nowhere else. Mother, formed from the depths beneath your heart, you knew us from inside out. No deeds or seas or others could ever erase that. Mother, the great nurture that brings to life what is within us. And in many ways we can all give birth to that greater aspect of our human being, our simple human being. We can all give birth in our own hearts and our own hearts that nurture what is deeply, deeply within all of us. And spring kind of brings that beautifully to mind, that idea of the seed still growing from the frozen ground that begins to come to life again at this time of year. We can know that in the depths of winter, it can almost feel like that seed will never come again. And in those dark times in our own lives, it can feel like that will never come to life again. Eileen Kelly of the Finon community has said, all that you need is deep within you, waiting to unfold and reveal itself. All you have to do is to be still and to take time to seek for what is within, and you will surely find it. And when I think of the image of mother, I think of that image of stillness, that image of calm, not always, or the ideal mother at least, that place of nurture, that place of cradle, that place where we can be who we are and allow what is within us to come alive, perhaps. Again, I'll quote John O'Donoghue here from Anam Cara. The heart is the inner face of your life. The human journey strives to make this inner face beautiful. It is here that love gathers within you. Love is absolutely vital for human life. For love alone can awaken what is divine within you. In love, you grow and come home to yourself. When you learn to love and let yourself be loved, you come home to the hearth of your own spirit. You are warm and sheltered. These are images when I think of Mothering Sunday, this place of nurture and growing, this hearth of the heart where we are accepted and can give birth to what is deeply within us. Something I'm thinking about this time of year, especially when I think of the winter that we've just been through, really. A particularly difficult one for this congregation. Certainly we've lost several people, and there are people really suffering amongst us. But a sense of renewal can come again if we allow it to come alive in our hearts and our lives, in our hearts and the hearts of our very being. This place of nurture and love, if we'll just be still enough sometimes, and allow that love to embrace us and hold us, and allow that love that's deeply within each of us to come alive and to grow. Some thoughts I'd like you to take with you as we celebrate mothers and motherhood this day, but also to think about that nurturing spirit that we all have within us, and that love that's just waiting to come alive again in the springtime of our own lives, really. Just to think about that as we go into this Mothering Sunday, this Mother's Day. I invite us now, though, just to pray once more. A prayer for all who mother, because we all do, you know. Let us pray. We reflect in gratitude this day for all those whose lives have nurtured our lives. The life-giving ones who heal with their presence, who listen in sympathy, who give wise advice, but only when asked for it. We are grateful for all those who have mothered us, who have held us gently in times of sorrow, who celebrated with us in our triumphs, no matter how small, who noticed when we changed and grew, who praised us for taking risks, who took genuine pride in our success, and who expressed genuine compassion when we did not succeed. On this day that honours mothers, let us honour all mothers, men and women alike, who from somewhere in their being have freely and wholeheartedly given life and sustenance and vision to us. Dear God, Mother, Father of us all, grant us life-giving ways, strength for birthing, and a nurturing spirit, that we may take attentive care of our world, our communities, and those precious beings entrusted to us by biology, or by destiny, or by friendship, fellowship, or fate. Spirit of all life and all love, give all of us the heart of mother today. Amen. Let's join together now and sing our final hymn, hymn number 145, Sleep My Child, hymn number 145. Hold on to what you believe in, even if it's just a tree which stands alone by itself. Hold on to what you must do, even if it's a long way from here, so far away. Hold on to my hand, even when I have gone from you. Hold on to each other, and to faith, and to hope, and to love. Even just these three things will hold you through. And may the love of God, our Father and our Mother, may the love of God sustain us and hold us and live through us in all that we feel, all that we think, all that we say, and all that we do. Go in love. Amen.